And we can do that most effectively by raising the minimum wage, unlike your position. Let's use an example. You like to use examples. I like that. Let me use an example. Many Americans would be surprised to learn that Wal-Mart, the nation's largest private sector employer, is also the biggest consumer of taxpayer-supported aid. The corporation's employees receive a total of $6.2 billion in public assistance each year. And why do they need public assistance? There's nothing more than corporate welfare that allows Wal-Mart to continue to pay poverty wages, and it's the taxpayers who pick up the tab of up to $5,815 in assistance for each employee and $1.75 million per store. So, Mr. Doar, do you believe that federal spending on means-tested safety net programs for Wal-Mart employees would be reduced if these employees were earning a higher wage?
Well,
the question.
Okay, there's a trade-off. If the wages go up and the people's ability to get into the labor force is diminished, they're going to come to welfare, and they're going to need assistance without the work. And the question is, do we have a safety net built to help them? What we built through many years of bipartisan effort is a work support system that shores up low wages. And that's what we do. And it's, I think, more successful than having more people out of work, depending on a safety net system that won't support them without
Mr. Doar, they could be working at a job that does not afford them the income they need to raise a family, and therefore they're going to have to look to public assistance. Public assistance is not simply for someone who's totally out of work, or a child, or an older person who can't move. You agree with that?
Yes, that's what a work support system is.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you support the system that exists. Thank you, Chairman.
Par for the course. Mr. Rokita.
I thank the Chairman. I also thank the witnesses for their compelling testimony. If we have time, we'll try to get back. Well, Mr. Doar, do you have any final response to Mr. Pascrell's last
No, I'm fine.
May I just say that, may I respond?
Mr. Turner, go ahead, please. 10 seconds or so.
Sometimes we have single-entry bookkeeping when we focus only on wages. Right. Wal-Mart is one of the greatest wealth creators in this country because of the pressure they put on suppliers and producing low prices. When you take away their right to have a low-priced economy, you're also hurting the people that are consumers there as well, and they're low-income people.
I think that's a great point, Mr. Turner. Thanks for adding it to the record. I'd also add that it's speaking with the CEO of McDonald's the top of this year. Maybe half the franchisees, a good portion nonetheless, of the franchisees of McDonald's started out at the cashier. Yeah. A minimum wage paying job, but I would cite that company as one of this country's the best and most efficient, most successful upward mobility programs to raise folks out of a life of poverty.
May I also comment on upward mobility for low-income workers?
Yes, please.
Harry Holzer, who's a professor at Georgetown, looked at a data set and took people that were earning less than $12,000 for 3 consecutive years and looked at what happened to them 6 years later. These 3 consecutive years were in the early 1990s. Only 29% of the people that were in that category were still low wage 6 years later, and the median increase in their income was 86%. The point here is getting on the ladder is going to move you up wage-wise. A manufacturer in Wisconsin told us, we hire our $18 an hour employees from the ranks of proven $9 an hour employees, not from people that have been through a government training program.
Mr. Doar's point, you raise the minimum wage and you can't get on the ladder. Speaking of Mr. Doar, I noticed that when Representative Ben Holland was questioning you, there was agreement, thankfully, that the best anti-poverty program is a job. I appreciate that that was recognized. And then he said there were time limits put on welfare recipients, or maybe it was the food stamp program, SNAP program.
Right.
And then you said, well, that most of the states waive that. Can you expand on that?
Well,
Like you were cut off.
in the food stamp program, there's a long-standing policy concerning it, able-bodied adults without dependents who should be working and have a work requirement. But during difficult times, states are given the option of waiving that requirement. And I think
Given under the law or given by the administration?
well,
Under the
it's
law.
under the law, but then in the first act of the Obama administration, they extended it for the whole period of the recession. And most states took advantage of that. One place that did not was New York City. We kept the requirement because we felt that first of all, the economy, we felt there had enough activity and churning in it, and we believed in saying to people who are seeking assistance that work is where we need you to be headed.
And
I'm sorry, I'm going to
Sure.
get some more questions. I appreciate it very much. Mr. Turner, you were having an exchange with Representative Moore, and it seemed from trying to digest this that you made a point about SNAP recipients or coming back into the workforce, and her comment was, well, I was there, I saw the data, and something's not correct. Did you want to respond to that at all? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what she said, but I'm not exactly I think what she said is that the private companies made a profit, and that profits made by private companies who are helping put people to work are somehow illegitimate. I have the opposite in point of view.
Please expand.
When I was commissioner in New York City, we had 138 employment vendors, which we reduced to 13 prime providers with subcontractors, and they were only paid if they got people jobs and retained them. When we did that, in the first full year after we switched to performance contracting, which included for-profit vendors, our total budget for employment and training went down by a third, and our recorded placements doubled. Now, some of the money that went for that purpose went for profits, but it's not like nonprofit organizations don't have profits of their own. They have a different accounting system for it. They call it indirect costs. But it's the same thing. You have to make a profit if you're going to run an operation.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Kildee.